everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on POSHMARK. Today's video is going to be the truth about reselling on POSHMARK in 2024. So hopefully this is a topic that's interesting to you, and make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss a future video that I do here on this channel. But yeah, let's get right into today's video. So the first thing to start out with that I think is the most important thing to remember this year on POSHMARK is it's just not the same as what it was. The platform is different than what it was last year. There's a different push for different things this year, and it's just the sales are not the same. And that's just so important to remember because so many of us sellers that were on the platform last year and prior years even just know that everything was different. Because there's been such a push for, you know, promoted closets, these live shows, and things like that. It's just a different platform. So that's so important to remember and so important to consider when you are doing your normal stuff on POSHMARK. And again, it's just different. Can be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, but just remember that when you are proceeding with, you know, selling on POSHMARK. The next thing to remember is that the brands that sold for you last year may not sell for you this year. So it's important to kind of make sure that you're staying up to the trends and make sure that you're, you know, looking at what brands are selling well on the platform. Do your research. Don't just assume that if it was selling for you last year, it's going to sell for you this year, because that's not always the case. I know the brands that were selling for me the most in 2022 and in 2023 were very different. And so far from the beginning of 2024, the brands that were selling for me last year are very different. There are some staples, however, which are going to sell for me no matter what year it is, no matter what time of, you know, what season or anything like that. But there's going to be new brands that you might want to focus on, or maybe you want to actually like try and pick up. So definitely do your research. Don't be just stuck to picking up the same brands that you picked up last year. You have to change with the times to have the most success on the platform. The next thing to consider is, and I've realized this over the last, you know, so many months, is people generally want things cheaper on POSHMARK. They think that they're getting a good deal by getting it, you know, by getting it on POSHMARK. And so make sure you're sending out offers and make sure those offers are irresistible to the buyers. You want to make sure that the buyer, you know, really wants to purchase. They're thinking, oh, I'm getting a great deal, I should purchase this because I might miss this good deal. And again, because it's getting harder and harder to sell on the platform, you need to make sure that you're standing out as a seller. So the best way to do that is to send those great offers. Now, obviously, be within reason. Don't undersell yourself, because that's going to actually affect you and your sales. But you definitely want to make sure you're sending out offers that people want. I find that when somebody sends me like a 5% offer or even a 10% offer, it doesn't really seem that enticing. Where if I'm getting an offer that's a little bit better, or maybe with discounted shipping, it really draws me in more and I'm more likely to buy. So definitely consider that and make sure that you're, you know, really sending out those offers frequently. Most sales do come from offers, and it's so important to be sending those offers regularly. The next thing to consider that is happening on POSHMARK and probably any other platform is customers are becoming more and more nitpicky over time, meaning that they are gonna, you know, leave you a less than 5-star review for very small things, maybe open a case for something very small, and they're getting smart. I feel like in the past, I would get like one case opened, you know, every year, or I would get, you know, a below 5-star rating every once in a blue moon. But now I feel like it's becoming more regular, and I feel like the excuses that people give are like kind of ridiculous. Most of the time they don't even give an excuse, and they just like write 4 stars or whatever. But I feel like people are opening cases for things that like just aren't justified. And so I've been really seeing that more often, and I know other people are seeing it too. It's not just me. So just keep that in mind when you're selling your items, you know, make sure that those descriptions are good, make sure that they're accurate, and make sure there's no room for somebody to do that, because again, if they try and open a silly case and it's not justified, POSHMARK will definitely not accept it. And that's happened to me where somebody was like, oh, the item had a weird smell or things like that. So like, things like that are not going to fly. So make sure that your items are up to description, and you will really help yourself avoid some cases. But just keep that in mind that customers are becoming more and more picky over time, and they're really picking out the small details when they never were prior. The next thing to consider is that prices at Goodwill and secondhand stores like that are increasing, because they're starting to know that resellers are going there and they know that they can sell their items higher. And I've seen that with, you know, my local Goodwill. Their prices are kind of high, and you know, you can buy a pair of jeans for $8, or you could buy a jacket for $12, or whatever it is, and like all of their shoes, no matter what style they are, no matter what brand, they're all like $19.99, which is extremely high for shoes. And I know a lot of other thrift stores are really, you know, tackling this approach too, because it works. People are gonna pay for those prices. So what is important to consider when this happens is use your other ways to source, whether you can find some free stuff on Facebook, or, you know, from family and friends, or like, you know, in your local community as donations, or find ways to get inventory really, really cheap, such as like the Goodwill bins, if you have a bins location near you, or if your Goodwill has a dollar day, you know, that's also really beneficial. So just focus on ways to get inventory cheaper, and make sure that you're not paying, you know, these crazy ridiculous prices that the Goodwills are starting to charge, because that is going to help you, you know, make sure that you could still make a profit on items even if you're paying a little bit for them. So like if you're paying $8 for a pair of jeans that are going to sell for $10, you're not really making a profit. So again, Goodwills and other thrift stores are becoming more expensive. They're keeping up with the times. So just keep that in mind when you're going out sourcing, and make sure that you're trying to get your inventory as cheap as possible. And the final thing that I'm gonna leave you here with in this video is the markets are getting saturated over time. And the longer, you know, people are reselling, the more saturated they're gonna get. So what this means is it's gonna be harder for you to stand out as a seller on any platform. So you need to really make sure that your prices are good, your descriptions are good, your pictures are good. Make sure you're actually putting in the time to make your listings, to make them stand out. Because if your listings aren't going to stand out and your pricing isn't good, your items are not going to sell, and people are going to find other sellers. So this is the most crucial time to really focus on your listings, make sure that they look good and that they're sellable and that they're advertisable, and make sure that you're putting in that time to make it work. Otherwise, you're gonna really struggle this year on Poshmark. So hopefully this video helped you. I know a lot of these things, like, I had to realize over the course of the 3 months so far this year. I was kind of trying to reflect back on last year to see what has changed for me in the last year, and I'm noticing these things are very apparent to me. And I mean, I've made plenty of videos on how sales have been so much slower this year, and I'm not really sure why. Again, there's probably so many reasons that could be, but it's important to remember these things when you are selling on Poshmark this year, because these are things that are really going to affect your sales. And so it's important to kind of remember and think about these as you are selling. So I hope you liked this video, and I hope you found it helpful. If you want to see another video on, I guess maybe, you know, the slow sales and feeling discouraged and things like that, I talk about that in a video, and I think it's kind of relatable to a lot of sellers. If you want to watch that, you can click right here. And if you want to see a video on maybe reasons why your listings aren't selling, maybe ways that you can improve your listings, you can click right here. But until next time, I will see you then.